and welcome to LTV News. I'm Nada Marche and these are today's top stories. Obama wins his title as president in the re-election. A police helicopter crashes in Atlanta, killing 2 officers. And celebrities encourage fans to vote for Obama via Twitter. Let's start with some news from the Middle East. Opposition activists said bomb explosions killed at least 15 people and wounded dozens yesterday in the Damascus district, populated mostly by members of the Syrian president.
Activists said 3 bomb explosions were heard and smoke was seen rising from the area in the latest tit-for-tat attack. People living in the area blame the Syrian opposition and its supporters abroad for the bloodshed. Earlier on Tuesday, state television reported that the brother of Syria's parliament speaker had been assassinated by a gunman in Damascus, the latest victim in a campaign against perceived Assad supporters and their families. Airstrikes and military barrages unleashed by the Syrian military in the last few weeks have devastated whole districts of the capital, as well as parts of towns and cities elsewhere. Yet for their firepower, Assad's forces seem no closer to crushing their lightly armed opponents, who in turn have so far provided unable to topple the Syrian leader.
British Prime Minister David Cameron has paid a visit to a camp for Syrian refugees in Jordan, where he pledged an increase of $22.5 million in humanitarian aid. Cameron was accompanied by Jordanian Foreign Minister Massad Joud as he met officials at the camp based in an area where more than 500 refugees cross from Syria every day. Conditions in the camp are improving, which is attracting more people wanting to flee from strife-torn Syria. A leading Hamas official said that the closure of its offices in Syria has no concrete impact on the Palestinian Islamic Movement organization. The Syrian government has sealed all Hamas's offices across the country in the house of Khalid Mashal, a leading official, as Hamas said that the leadership had left Syria a few months ago and the operation of its offices there have always been suspended since then. Hamas is now continuing an operation in Qatar and Egypt. Moving on to some world news now. President Barack Obama has won re-election to a second term in the White House, beating Republican challenger Mitt Romney after a long and bitter campaign. Crowds at Obama's rally in Chicago cheered when they heard the network projections that Obama won re-election. Obama defeated Romney in a series of key swing states despite a weak economic recovery for persistent high unemployment, as US voters decide between 2 starkly different visions for the country. Police officers said an Atlanta police helicopter scouring the city in a search for a missing 9-year-old child crashes on Saturday night, killing 2 police officers. A local NBC affiliate quoted witnesses as saying the helicopter had been flying low and clipped power lines before the crash, causing an outage.
Investigating a missing child, a 9-year-old missing child. The helicopter unit was called in for additional assistance on the search. Brought them to this area around 10:30. Witness advised that our helicopter had gone down, and as we arrived on the scene, the 2 officers aboard had tragically died as well.
Police said a worker at a meat processing plant opened fire on co-workers yesterday, killing a man and injuring 3 people before critically wounding himself. Police Chief Jerry Dyer said the gunman, identified as Lawrence Jones, 42, opened fire at Apple Valley Farms in Fresno and killed a 32-year-old man. Officers found him on the sidewalk outside the plant with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head and the 4 people he shot were employees of the business. A Pittsburgh Zoo chief executive has said that the 2-year-old boy who fell into a pit of African wild dogs was mauled by the dogs.
What we understand from the medical examiner's report is the child did not die from the fall, that the child was mauled by the dogs.
Now here's some finance news. The French government has said that it will raise the value of tax and cut public spending in order to fund tax credits for farms and keep jobs in France. The $16 billion plan comes after a government-commissioned report by an industrialist called for big cuts in payroll taxes. The IMF also called for similar action. In its annual review of the French economy, the IMF said that France should ease employment laws to make it easier to both hire and fire workers, as well as cut payroll taxes to encourage employers to hire more staff. Now for some sports news. South African cyclist David George said that yesterday he has tested positive for the banned hormone EPO. The 36-year-old former Olympian said that he had returned a positive sample after an out-of-competition test conducted by the South African Institute for Drug-Free Sport in August. David George said, "I will not be asking for a B sample to be tested as I know the result will ultimately be the same and I fully understand the consequences of my admissions and will bear the results of this." Manchester City's faint hopes of reaching the Champions League knockout stage were hanging by a thread after they were held to a 2-2 draw at home in the Ajax Amsterdam this week. The Premier League champions recovered from 2 goals down to earn a point and preserved their 18-match unbeaten European home record through Sergio's second-half equaliser.
You know, it's a good sign, that the players in the dressing room after the game are disappointed about the result, because they had the feeling that we could make a big step, forward to go to the next phase, or in the European League or in the Champions League, and put City behind us. And that was the feeling. I think we gave the goal very cheap away. We put hard on the pressure, and he just kicks the ball as far as possible, and then out of nothing they scored the second goal. So that was very disappointed for us. But in the end, if you play here, then it's going to be difficult. And before the game, you say, okay, you will sign for 2-2. You will do that. But I think also we started that well. I think the first 25 minutes, but we were 2-0 up.
Now let's take a look at the world of arts and culture. During the weight of presidential polls with Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, celebrities were using Twitter to urge their followers to go out and vote. Katy Perry and Eva Longoria both posted messages in favour of Obama. Lady Gaga, who is currently overseas for her world tour, sent out numerous tweets about the election, one of which was retweeted by the Obama campaign. Chris Brown reached out to young voters with a simple message of vote, while legendary singer Cher sent out a prayer to ensure an Obama win. Country pop star Taylor Swift brought the festive spirit to London this week by switching on the Christmas lights at a shopping mall. Thousands of fans packed into the Westfield shopping centre in West London for a glimpse of their idol, who was in town to promote her new album Red, which has notched up the highest first week US sales figures in decades. Swift, looking cheerful in a long red dress, turned on the Christmas lights with a group of children and performed 3 of her hits to delight the crowd. Although the country pop sensation was away from home on the day of the US election, she said she had made sure her voice was heard. That's all we have time for today, but before we go, let's take a look back at our top stories. Obama wins his title as president in the re-election. Police helicopter crashes in Atlanta, killing 2 officers. And celebrities encourage fans to vote for Obama via Twitter. Thank you for watching. For more information, do visit our website at www.levant.tv. Join us tomorrow and at the same time. Until then, from all of us here at LTV News, goodbye.